As Obi Wan defeated Anakin on Mustafar, he made the difficult decision to leave him for dead. This raises a couple of questions. Was it because he didn't have time due to the Emperor's imminent arrival, or could he not bring himself to kill his brother? Perhaps it was a combination of both. However, in today's story, let's assume that Obi-Wan had time to save Anakin. Instead of leaving him for dead, he saves him before he gets burned. One last point to consider. In the original concept for Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin initially lost his limbs to Obi-Wan, he reached out with one arm and pleaded, "Help me, Master." Obi-Wan denied him, causing Anakin's eyes to change to the Sith's yellow hue, and he then shouted, "I hate you." What if instead Obi-Wan had accepted to help him? Obi-Wan, feeling the immense weight of their shared past, struggled to come to terms with the need to forgive Anakin. The pain of betrayal was deep, but so too was their bond. Anakin was not just a fallen Jedi, he was his brother. Obi-Wan could not abandon him to this fate. Drawing on the Force, Obi-Wan lifted Anakin away from the searing heat of the lava banks, pulling him to safety. He carried Anakin to the ship where Padme lay unconscious, having suffered but still alive. Carefully, Obi-Wan placed Anakin aboard and prepared for departure. As the ship lifted off and jumped to hyperspace, Palpatine's shuttle arrived at Mustafar. Stepping onto the scorched ground, he surveyed the scene through the Force. The events that had transpired here were clear to him. His apprentice had not only been defeated, but more crucially, had survived. Aboard the ship, Obi-Wan worked quickly to stabilize Anakin's condition. He treated his burns and did what he could to ease the pain. Anakin's eyes, no longer ablaze with Sith fury, were filled with remorse and desperation.
Master, I'm sorry.
Anakin, we will get you the help you need, but you must be prepared to face the consequences of your actions.
I understand, Master. I just want to make things right.
As the ship sped through hyperspace, heading towards an uncertain future, Obi-Wan could only hope that redemption was still possible for the one he once called friend and brother. Obi-Wan guided the ship to Polis Massa, where medical teams rushed to attend to both Padme and Anakin. Master Yoda and Bail Organa awaited their arrival, their concern etched on their faces. The medical droids quickly separated into two teams, one to tend to Padme and the other to Anakin. Padme screamed in pain as she was wheeled into the delivery room, her labor progressing rapidly. Anakin, barely conscious and writhing in agony, was moved to an adjacent room where the medical droids began their delicate work to stabilize him and treat his extensive injuries. As the moments passed, the tension in the air was palpable. Padme's cries echoed through the halls, mingling with the beeps and hums of the medical equipment. Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Bail waited anxiously outside the rooms, their faces lined with worry. Eventually, the door to Padme's room opened, and a droid announced the birth of twins. Obi-Wan rushed to her side, where she lay exhausted but alive. Cradling the newborns in her arms, Padme looked up at Obi-Wan, her eyes filled with concern.
Is Anakin all right?
Obi-Wan forced a smile and nodded reassuringly. In the original timeline, Padme's death has been a subject of much debate. Some speculate that Palpatine drained her life force to save Anakin, while others believe she died of a broken heart, as the movie suggests. However, in this timeline, neither would apply, as Anakin is with her, alive, and fighting for his redemption. Back in the medical room, Anakin's condition was critical but stable. The medical droids worked tirelessly, repairing the damage and easing his pain. Anakin drifted in and out of consciousness, his mind a whirlwind of regret and determination. Master Yoda entered the room, his wise eyes assessing the scene. He placed a comforting hand on Anakin's forehead, feeling the conflict within him.
Rest you must. Heal you will.
As days turned into weeks, Anakin's recovery progressed. Obi-Wan and Padme remained by his side, their presence a source of strength. The twins, Luke and Leia, brought moments of joy amidst the sorrow, their innocent faces a reminder of the hope that still existed. The Empire's growth was swift and relentless, its shadow spreading across the galaxy and forcing the Jedi into hiding. Master Yoda, recognizing the importance of Anakin's redemption and the potential he still held, decided to take on the responsibility of guiding him back to the light. This would require immense effort, patience, and understanding. Yoda's wisdom and experience made him the ideal mentor for this critical task. Obi Wan was tasked with a different but equally vital mission. He was to go to Tatooine, taking Padme and the children, Luke and Leia, with him. The desert planet's remote location and harsh environment would provide a secure hiding place away from the Empire's prying eyes. This separation was necessary for the safety of the children and the hope they represented for the future. The decision to part ways was heart-wrenching for Anakin and Padme. In a quiet moment, they sat together, discussing their uncertain future. Padme held Luke and Leia close, tears glistening in her eyes as she looked at Anakin.
This is what we must do, Anakin. For our children. For the galaxy. We have to believe that this sacrifice will lead to a better future.
Anakin, his eyes filled with remorse and determination, took her hand.
I know, Padme. I will do whatever it takes to make things right. I promise I will return to you and our children as a better man.
They embraced, drawing strength from each other, knowing this was the path they had to take. It was a sacrifice born out of love and hope. Obi Wan prepared the ship for their journey to Tatooine. As he looked at Anakin, he saw a glimmer of the friend and brother he once knew.
May the Force be with you, Anakin.
And with you, Master. Take care of my family.
With a final farewell, Obi-Wan, Padme, and the children boarded the ship and set course for Tatooine. Meanwhile, Yoda took Anakin to the ancient planet of Tython. Tython was a world uniquely sensitive to the balance between the light and dark sides of the Force. The planet itself reacted to disturbances in this balance, with violent storms and seismic activity erupting whenever the balance tipped too far in either direction. This made it an ideal location for Anakin's redemption and training, as the presence of both Yoda's strong light side and Anakin's lingering dark side could maintain a delicate equilibrium. As they arrived, Anakin felt the raw power of Tython's energy pulsating beneath his feet. The landscape was both serene and tumultuous, with lush forests and jagged mountains, tranquil lakes, and restless seas. Yoda led him to an ancient temple, its architecture a blend of both light and dark influences, symbolizing the balance the planet sought to maintain.
Master Yoda, why here?
Tython, a place of great significance it is. Here, the Force in balance, it remains. To learn true harmony, understand this balance, you must.
As they walked through the temple, Yoda began to share the history of the Jedi, the ancient order that had once thrived on Tython.
Long ago, the Jedi arrived on Tython, seeking balance in the Force. Neither light nor dark, but harmony between the two they sought. On great ships they came, bringing knowledge and wisdom. Learn from their ways, you will.
Anakin listened intently as Yoda recounted the tales of the Jedi. These ancient practitioners had believed in the need for balance, understanding that both the light and dark sides had roles to play in the Force. They had established temples and academies across Tython, each dedicated to different aspects of the Force, and strived to maintain equilibrium in their teachings and actions.
Fell into dogma, the Jedi did. Lost their way, we have. Focused too much on the light, ignoring the dark within. Balance, the true path is.
As days turned into weeks, Yoda guided Anakin through the teachings of the Jedi. They meditated in ancient groves, feeling the ebb and flow of the Force. They trained with lightsabers and staffs, mastering both defensive and offensive techniques. Yoda encouraged Anakin to confront his inner darkness, to understand it, and to integrate it rather than suppress it.
Fear, anger, hatred, part of you they are. Deny them, you must not. Understand them, control them, balance them.
Anakin found the process challenging but enlightening. The planet's energy responded to his progress. When he embraced too much darkness, the skies darkened and the ground trembled. When he focused solely on the light, the winds howled and lightning split the sky. But when he achieved balance, the environment around him calmed, reflecting his inner peace. Yoda's teachings were not just about fighting or meditating, they were about understanding the very essence of the Force. He taught Anakin about the Tythonian beasts, creatures that embodied different aspects of the Force and how they lived in harmony despite their differences. He took Anakin to the ruins of the old Jedi temples, where they found ancient holocrons and scrolls that revealed forgotten knowledge. One evening, as they sat by a tranquil lake, Yoda spoke of the fall of the Jedi.
Built up over many years, the Jedi's fall was not your faults alone. Blind to our own flaws, we became. Saw only the light, ignoring the shadows within. Now, understand, we must. Balance, we seek.
Anakin nodded, the weight of his past actions still heavy on his heart, but now tempered with a new understanding.
I want to make things right, Master Yoda. Not just for me, but for the galaxy. I see now that true balance is the way.
Hope there is. In you, the potential for great change, I see. Together, restore balance we will.
As their time on Tython continued, Anakin's progress was evident. The storms that once raged when he struggled with his inner demons became less frequent, replaced by periods of calm and clarity. He began to feel a deeper connection to the Force, one that transcended his previous understanding. With Yoda's guidance, Anakin was on a path to redemption, not just as a Jedi, but as a true practitioner of balance in the Force. While Anakin and Yoda trained on Tython, the galaxy outside fell deeper into darkness under the expanding grip of the Empire. Emperor Palpatine, now revealed as Darth Sidious, solidified his control, transforming the Republic into a totalitarian regime. The Empire's growth was rapid and merciless, its iron fist tightening around the necks of countless worlds. The Senate, once a beacon of democracy, became a mere puppet of Sidious's will. Any dissent was swiftly crushed by the fearsome Imperial military and the ruthless Inquisitors who hunted down any remaining Jedi. The oppression was felt everywhere. New laws and regulations stifled freedom, and the once vibrant cultures of many planets were suppressed under the weight of Imperial propaganda. Fear and suspicion became the norm as neighbors turned on one another, and the spirit of rebellion began to flicker in the hearts of the oppressed. Sidious, ever cunning and aware of the Sith tradition of the rule of two, sought to ensure his supremacy. With Anakin lost to him and a new apprentice not yet fully ready, he turned his gaze to his former apprentice, Darth Maul. Maul, having survived his previous defeat and harboring a deep-seated hatred for Sidious, had carved out his own empire in the criminal underworld. He had no intention of bowing to his old master, but Sidious's reach was long and his manipulation subtle. Sidious offered Maul power and a chance to reclaim his place at his side. Maul, ever ambitious and driven by revenge, accepted, but with his own hidden agenda. He planned to bide his time, learn from Sidious, and eventually overthrow him to claim the mantle of Sith Master for himself. Their uneasy alliance was one of convenience, each Sith aware of the other's ambitions, yet bound by the intricate dance of power and deception that defined the Sith. Maul's return to the fold brought a new edge to the Empire's cruelty. His knowledge of the underworld and his relentless drive to prove himself made him a formidable enforcer. The Empire's oppression intensified under his influence, with entire planets subjugated through fear and violence. Despite the increasing oppression, whispers of rebellion began to spread. Small cells of resistance started to form, inspired by the stories of the surviving Jedi and the hope that the dark reign of the Empire could not last forever. Leaders like Mon Mothma and Bail Organa began to secretly organize these cells into a unified front, laying the groundwork for what would eventually become the Rebel Alliance. Sidious, ever vigilant, sensed the growing threat of rebellion, but underestimated its potential. His focus remained on maintaining his power and dealing with the ever-present threat from within his own ranks. The galaxy trembled under the Empire's rule, but the spark of hope refused to be extinguished. As the galaxy teetered on the edge of despair, the training on Tython continued. Anakin, now deeply in tune with the balanced force, prepared for the inevitable confrontation with his former master. Yoda, ever wise and patient, knew that the time would come when the galaxy would need their combined strength to challenge the darkness. Anakin, now closer to his full potential than ever before, was ready to redeem himself and defeat the Empire once and for all. His journey to Tython had given him a deeper understanding of the Force and the balance required to wield it truly. With Yoda's guidance, he had transformed from a man consumed by darkness to a beacon of hope and strength. Determined to see his family before embarking on his mission, Anakin traveled to Tatooine. The harsh desert planet, with its twin suns blazing in the sky, was a stark contrast to the serene landscapes of Tython. As he approached the small home where Padme and their children lived, his heart pounded with anticipation and fear. Luke and Leia, now a couple of years old, regarded Anakin with curiosity. They had heard stories about their father, the hero and the fallen Jedi, but they had never seen him. Their innocent eyes, filled with wonder and a hint of apprehension, broke Anakin's heart. He knelt before them, feeling the weight of his past and the hope of their future in their small, trusting faces.
"Hello, my little ones,"
he said softly, his voice choked with emotion. Luke and Leia looked at him, unsure but intrigued. They sensed something special about this man who knelt before them, something powerful yet gentle. Padme watched the reunion with tears in her eyes. She approached Anakin and embraced him, feeling the strength and warmth she had missed for so long.
You've come back for us.
Anakin held her tightly, drawing comfort from her presence.
"I had to see you all before everything changes."
Later, in a private meeting with Padme and Obi Wan, Anakin laid out his plan.
"Master Yoda and I are building a new Jedi resistance. We're gathering those who still believe in the light, those who will stand against the Empire. The time is coming when the galaxy will be free again."
Anakin, we believe in you, but what if something happens to you? What will we do without you?
"I have to be honest with you, Padme. I may never return. The fight ahead is dangerous, and I don't know what the future holds. But everything I'm doing is for you and our children, for the galaxy."
Tears streamed down his face as he spoke, the reality of the sacrifices he was making weighing heavily on him. He looked at Obi Wan, his old friend and mentor, seeking both support and forgiveness.
"When the time is right, I want you to bring Padme and the children to Tython. They will be safe there, and their training can begin. But until then, keep them safe, old friend."
I will, Anakin, I promise. May the Force be with you.
The goodbye was bittersweet. Anakin spent precious moments with Luke and Leia, telling them stories of the Jedi and the adventures he hoped they would one day have. He hugged Padme tightly, feeling her love and strength bolstering his resolve.
"I will return if I can, but know if I don't, that I love you all more than anything in this galaxy."
As Anakin departed Tatooine, his heart was heavy but his purpose clear. He was no longer the confused and angry young man who had fallen to the dark side. He was a Jedi once more, ready to face the ultimate challenge and bring balance to the Force. Anakin's journey to redemption and the restoration of the Jedi led him to seek out his old apprentice, Ahsoka Tano, who had been in hiding since the fall of the Jedi Order. Using the Force to guide him, he eventually found her on a distant, isolated world. Ahsoka, still wary of the dark forces that had overtaken the galaxy, initially approached Anakin with caution, but she soon sensed the profound change in him.
"Ahsoka, the Jedi way is changing. The old order is gone. But we could build something new, something better. I want to teach you again if you're willing. We can learn to balance the Force together, to use both light and dark without letting the darkness consume us."
Ahsoka, sensing his sincerity and the light within him, agreed.
I always believed in you, Anakin. If you're ready to teach, I'm ready to learn.
Under Anakin's guidance, Ahsoka began to understand the principles of balance that he had learned from Master Yoda. They trained together, focusing on embracing the full spectrum of the Force. Anakin taught her how to acknowledge and utilize the dark side's power without succumbing to its corrupting influence. It was a challenging path, requiring immense discipline and self-awareness, but Ahsoka's determination and Anakin's experience forged a strong foundation. Once Ahsoka had grasped the teachings of balance, they set out on a mission to find more surviving Jedi. Their efforts were clandestine, avoiding Imperial scrutiny as they sought out those who had gone into hiding or were leading secret lives. They reached out to former Jedi like Quinlan Vos and others who had managed to survive the Empire's purge. Together, Anakin and Ahsoka created the Hidden Path, a secret network that guided Jedi to safety. This path led them to Tython, where Yoda awaited their arrival. The planet's unique sensitivity to the Force served as the perfect training ground for these Jedi, helping them learn to maintain balance between the light and dark sides. Yoda, with his vast wisdom, continued the training Anakin had started, teaching the gathered Jedi about the ancient ways of the Jedi and the importance of harmony within the Force. The teachings on Tython emphasized that true power came from understanding and balancing both aspects of the Force, a lesson the old Jedi Order had overlooked. As the Hidden Path flourished, more Jedi found their way to Tython, where they began their new journey under the guidance of Anakin, Ahsoka, and Yoda. This new Jedi resistance grew stronger, preparing for the day when they would rise against the Empire. They trained in secret, honing their skills and building a sense of unity and purpose. Over the next few years, the Empire's grip tightened, becoming increasingly oppressive. The galaxy was plunged into a state of constant fear and suffering under the ruthless rule of Emperor Palpatine. The once vibrant worlds became mere shadows of their former selves, choked by the presence of Imperial forces. The brutality of the Empire's enforcers, the relentless Inquisitors, and the crushing weight of authoritarian control sparked widespread resentment. From this oppression, the seeds of rebellion began to grow. Dissenters and freedom fighters from various corners of the galaxy united, forming the Rebel Alliance. Led by figures like Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and other courageous leaders, the rebellion started to openly challenge the Empire's dominance. Skirmishes and sabotage operations escalated into full-blown battles as the rebels gained momentum and support. Meanwhile, on Tython, the secret Jedi resistance had been flourishing. Under the guidance of Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, and Master Yoda, the Jedi who had found their way to the Hidden Path trained diligently. They had embraced a new philosophy that balanced the light and dark sides of the Force, making them stronger and more resilient. This new understanding of the Force allowed them to grow beyond the limitations of the old Jedi Order. The time had come for the Jedi to join the fray. The emergence of the Rebel Alliance provided the perfect opportunity for the Jedi to reveal themselves and strike against the Empire. Anakin, Ahsoka, and the other Jedi prepared for the inevitable confrontation. They knew that their presence would inspire hope across the galaxy and serve as a powerful force against the darkness. When the Jedi finally revealed themselves, the Empire was taken aback. The sudden re-emergence of the Jedi, whom they believed to be nearly extinct, sent shockwaves through the Imperial ranks. The Jedi, now wiser and more balanced, took up roles similar to those they held during the Clone Wars, but with a profound difference. They were no longer generals serving a corrupt republic. They were leaders of a righteous rebellion, fighting for the freedom of the galaxy. The battles that followed were fierce. The Jedi, leading rebel forces, demonstrated remarkable strategy and valor. Their ability to balance the light and dark sides of the Force gave them an edge in combat, making them formidable opponents. The Jedi's new approach to the Force allowed them to act with greater compassion, understanding, and effectiveness. Anakin, now fully embracing his role as a redeemer, led many of these battles with unparalleled determination. His presence on the battlefield was both a symbol of hope and a reminder of the possibility of redemption. Ahsoka, equally skilled and wise, commanded her own forces, showing the galaxy that the Jedi were not only warriors, but also beacons of hope and leadership. The Empire, caught off guard by the strength and unity of the Jedi and the rebels, struggled to maintain its dominance. The Inquisitors, once the bane of the remaining Jedi, found themselves outmatched by the newly trained and balanced Jedi Knights. Palpatine, furious and desperate, unleashed all his resources to crush the rebellion, but the tide had turned. The galaxy watched as the Jedi, alongside the Rebel Alliance, pushed back against the Empire's forces. Worlds that had suffered under Imperial rule began to rise in rebellion, inspired by the bravery and resolve of the Jedi. The battlefields echoed with the clash of lightsabers and the roar of starships as the fight for freedom intensified. The Jedi of this new era were a better version of themselves. They had learned from the mistakes of the past, embracing a more holistic understanding of the Force. This understanding made them not only stronger in battle, but also more compassionate and wise in their leadership. Their presence rekindled the light in the hearts of the oppressed, sparking a renewed hope that the Empire's tyranny could be overcome. Anakin, Ahsoka, and many other Jedi led the charge on the battlefield, toppling the Empire's strongholds one by one. Their strategic brilliance and renewed strength in the Force made significant progress toward their ultimate goal of liberation. The Rebel Alliance, bolstered by the Jedi's leadership, gained ground, with each victory inspiring hope and resistance throughout the galaxy. Meanwhile, on Tython, Yoda continued to train the new generation of Jedi. The path to balance was a difficult one, demanding deep introspection and control. Despite the rigorous training and Yoda's wisdom, some Jedi found the challenge insurmountable. The struggle between light and dark within them was too great, leading a few to fall completely to the dark side. These fallen Jedi, driven by their newfound allegiance to the darkness, betrayed their comrades. They leaked the locations of Jedi hideouts and rebel bases to the Empire. This betrayal gave the Empire the advantage it desperately needed. Seizing the opportunity, Emperor Palpatine unveiled the Empire's new superweapon, the Death Star. This colossal space station, capable of destroying entire planets, was a terrifying testament to the Empire's technological might and ruthless ambition. Without warning, the Death Star made its presence known to the galaxy, appearing over Tython, the heart of the hidden Jedi resistance. The appearance of the Death Star caught everyone off guard. Panic and fear spread among the Jedi and the rebels on Tython as they realized the full extent of the threat. Despite their efforts to mount a defense, the power of the Death Star was overwhelming. In a demonstration of its terrifying power, the Death Star's super laser fired upon Tython. The beam of destructive energy tore through the planet, causing cataclysmic devastation. Many Jedi, including Grandmaster Yoda, were killed in the attack. The loss was profound, shaking the very foundations of the Jedi and the Rebel Alliance. Grief and anger gripped Anakin and Ahsoka. The death of Yoda and the destruction of their sanctuary was a heavy blow, but it also steeled their resolve. They knew that the fight against the Empire had entered its most desperate phase. In a show of unyielding power and tyranny, the Death Star targeted another planet with significant ties to the Rebel Alliance. The world, a beacon of hope and resistance, was obliterated in a single terrifying demonstration of the Empire's might. This devastating act served as a stark warning to all who dared to defy the Emperor. Those who continued to fight would face utter destruction. The hope that once seemed so undeniable began to waver. The Rebel Alliance, reeling from the loss of Tython and now this second annihilation, found its resolve weakening. Doubt and fear spread, and the unity that had held the Alliance together started to fracture. In the midst of this chaos, Darth Maul, ever cunning and ambitious, saw an opportunity. Despite further training under Sidious, Maul knew he could not defeat the Emperor in a direct confrontation. He needed the Empire to turn against Sidious, to weaken the Emperor's grip from within. Maul also recognized the necessity of the Rebel Alliance's survival for his plan to succeed. Crafting a plan to set his schemes into motion, Maul leaked information about a planet housing many of the Empire's most secure secrets, including the plans for the Death Star. He ensured this information would reach Anakin Skywalker, knowing that Anakin's determination and leadership could reignite the dwindling spark of rebellion. Anakin, driven by the desperate need to save the galaxy and avenge the fallen, took the bait. Gathering what was left of the Rebel Alliance, he formulated a daring plan to assault the Imperial stronghold on Scarif. This planet, heavily fortified and seemingly impregnable, held the key to the rebellion's survival and the Empire's downfall. The battle for Scarif was brutal and chaotic. The rebels launched a full-scale assault, knowing that failure would spell the end of their cause. Anakin led the charge, his presence on the battlefield a source of inspiration for the beleaguered forces. Ahsoka fought by his side, their combined strength and skill a formidable force against the Imperial defenses. The fighting was intense, with both sides sustaining heavy casualties. Rebel soldiers and pilots fought valiantly, their courage and determination pushing them forward even as they faced overwhelming odds. Many lives were lost in the struggle, but the rebels pressed on, driven by the hope that their sacrifice would lead to victory. Inside the Imperial facility, Anakin and a small team of elite fighters made their way to the Central Archives, where the plans for the Death Star were stored. The corridors were heavily guarded, and the fighting was fierce. Anakin's lightsaber clashed with the red blades of Inquisitors and Imperial Guards, each battle a test of his resolve and skill. Despite the heavy losses and the seemingly insurmountable obstacles, Anakin and his team reached the archive room. With the plans in hand, they began their escape, but the cost was high. Many of his comrades fell in the effort, their sacrifices buying the precious time needed to secure the plans. As the battle raged on outside, Anakin and Ahsoka fought their way back to the extraction point. The skies above Scarif were filled with the flashes of laser fire and the explosions of starfighters, the rebel fleet doing everything in its power to support the ground assault. With the plans securely transmitted to the rebel fleet, Anakin and the surviving members of his team made a desperate dash to their transport. The cost had been great, but the mission was a success. As they lifted off from Scarif, Anakin looked out over the battlefield, his heart heavy with the loss of so many brave souls, but filled with a renewed sense of purpose. With the plans for the Death Star securely in hand, the Rebel Alliance was poised to deliver a decisive blow to the Empire. Soon, more crucial information leaked by Maul revealed the location of the Death Star. The rebels, now fueled by newfound hope and determination, prepared for their most daring assault yet. Anakin Skywalker, renowned as the best pilot in the galaxy, led the charge. The battle to reach the Death Star was fierce, with Imperial defenses thrown into disarray by the unexpected assault. Anakin, his skills unmatched, flew through the chaos with precision and courage, inspiring those around him. His X-Wing danced through enemy fire, dodging TIE fighters and weaving through the station's formidable defenses. Reaching the critical point, Anakin executed a flawless attack run, targeting the Death Star's weak spot. With a well-placed shot, the massive station was engulfed in a cataclysmic explosion. The destruction of the Death Star sent shockwaves through the galaxy, reigniting the hope of the Rebel Alliance and dealing a severe blow to the Empire's morale. The Rebel victory was monumental. Celebrations erupted across Allied worlds, and the ranks of the rebellion swelled with new recruits eager to join the fight. The hope that had once wavered now burned brighter than ever. Meanwhile, Maul continued his covert campaign to undermine Emperor Palpatine. Whispering in the ears of disillusioned Imperials, Maul sowed seeds of distrust against Sidious. He painted the Emperor as a coward who never left his quarters, issuing orders blindly and allowing overconfidence to lead to catastrophic defeats. Maul's rhetoric struck a chord with many within the Empire, who were tired of seeing their comrades fall and their resources squandered. Maul's words began to take root, spreading like wildfire through the ranks of the Empire. Rumors of the Emperor's isolation and detachment grew, and the once unquestioned loyalty of the Imperial forces began to waver. Many started to believe that they needed a leader who was willing to lead from the front, not one who hid behind closed doors. As internal dissent grew, the Empire's cohesion started to fracture. Skirmishes between factions became more common, and the chain of command faltered. The once ironclad control of the Empire began to crumble from within, just as the rebels grew stronger each day. However, Maul's actions did not go unnoticed by Sidious. The Emperor, ever vigilant and ruthless, eventually discovered the betrayal. In a swift and brutal confrontation, Palpatine unleashed his full dark power upon Maul. Despite Maul's strength and cunning, he was no match for Sidious. The former apprentice fell, struck down by the very master he sought to overthrow. But it was too late. Maul's words and actions had already sown deep divisions within the Empire. The seeds of distrust had blossomed into open dissent, and the Emperor's hold over his forces weakened further. The internal strife created by Maul's machinations left the Empire vulnerable and less capable of responding to the growing strength of the rebellion. As the rebels continued to gain ground, inspired by their recent victories and the evident cracks in the Empire's armor, the galaxy's future seemed more hopeful than ever. Everything the Emperor had built was falling apart before his eyes, and he knew his time was limited. Enraged and desperate, Palpatine enacted Project Cinder, a scorched Earth campaign designed to cause devastation across the galaxy. Both Imperial and Rebel planets were targeted, resulting in the deaths of countless beings. The galaxy plunged into chaos as storms of destruction rained down, indiscriminately wiping out entire civilizations. During this time of unparalleled devastation, the Emperor disappeared into the unknown regions, leaving the remnants of his empire to carry out his brutal final orders. Despite the overwhelming destruction of Project Cinder, Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, prevailed. His leadership, strength, and determination guided the Rebel Alliance through the darkest days, ultimately paving the way for the emergence of the New Republic. As the galaxy began to heal from the scars of war, Anakin was finally reunited with his family. His children, now 10 years old, were overjoyed to see him. The years of separation and struggle melted away in moments of heartfelt reunion. Anakin embraced his role as a father, teaching Luke and Leia the principles of balance he and Yoda had cultivated on Tython. The legacy of the Jedi teachings, emphasizing harmony between the light and dark sides of the Force, was passed on to the next generation. Padme, having survived the turmoil, returned to the political arena with renewed vigor. Her passion for justice and peace made her a key figure in the establishment of the New Republic. Her wisdom and experience guided the fledgling government, ensuring that the values of freedom and democracy were firmly rooted in the new order. Yet, unbeknownst to Anakin and his family, deep in the unknown regions, Palpatine was far from defeated. Driven by his obsession with immortality, he continued the dark experiments he and Darth Plagueis had begun. In the shadows, Palpatine worked tirelessly to unlock the secrets of eternal life, determined to return and reclaim his throne. The galaxy, though free of the immediate threat of the Empire, remained under the looming shadow of Palpatine's unfinished plans. The path to immortality, once a mere legend, was now within his grasp. As the New Republic flourished and Anakin's family grew stronger, the specter of the Emperor's return hung silently in the depths of the unknown regions, biding its time. And so, while the heroes of the rebellion celebrated their hard-won victory and the promise of a brighter future, the ancient struggle between light and dark endured. The story of the galaxy, of balance and conflict, continued, with new chapters waiting to be written.